Okay, so it is almost 11 o'clock in Vancouver, and I was ready to go to bed, and then I saw this message somebody had sent to me on YouTube asking if I would respond to this video they had just found. The video is called the logic as to why gay marriage should not be allowed, and the user is Value Card 2. He tries to start off giving clarity to his argument, saying this has nothing to do with homophobia, it's not anything to do with irrational fears of gay people, it's just about logic. The fact that you're mentioning off the top now, this is not about homophobia, not about hating gay people, this is really a sign that the culture is changing. Years ago, you wouldn't have prefaced your argument with that point. You wouldn't be worried about being seen as homophobic. Today, in order for your argument to have any sort of weight, even though it doesn't have any that I can see, the very chance of you actually getting any kind of consideration by the majority of the population requires that you preface with this point. So it's a sign that your way of thinking is really drifting away, and that the more acceptance, the more open-minded, the more loving way is really what's becoming the norm. You use the term perversions in the video to talk about gay activity, and yet you want to make sure everyone knows that you're not homophobic. I don't know how you can use that term to describe being gay and then say that you're not homophobic. This concept of logic that people use when they debate these things. A lot of, especially conservative people, like to think that all of these arguments they're so simple, and that we're just beating something to death, that if we just heard your brilliant analysis for 30 seconds, we'd realize, oh yes, of course, I never thought about it. It's so simple. Any of these big issues are never simple. Gay marriage, I mean, as somebody who has thought about this a lot and who has studied about this a lot, don't think it should be as complex as it is. But it is, if you're coming at it without having any exposure to it, or any previous thought, or any kind of education about it, it is a complex issue, as is abortion and evolution, and capital punishment. So many things are complex, and the concept that's logic that you possess that nobody else, no educated person would possess, is the only way that you'll be able to see how simple this is so tired. You talk about how if gay marriage is allowed, it will change the role. There's a natural role that the father and mother are supposed to perform in a family. That right there, I think, should really make your argument null and void. This role that has been designated is something that has imprisoned the sexes, particularly women, for years. The concept that the father and mother have a very strict role they're not allowed to deviate from. I know conservative type couples who the father has stayed home and looked after the children for a couple years while the wife has worked, and vice versa. People split the jobs. Some people, some one parent may be more compassionate or more sensitive than the other, and may take on one job or the other. This concept of it being set in stone is very outdated, and again, a sign that your way of thinking is really disappearing off the face of the earth very quickly. You talk about that this will allow, you use these words specifically, that allowing gay marriage will open the door for unnatural things like people who cannot reproduce. Are infertile people who cannot reproduce, banned from marrying at the moment? This concept that marriage is only for procreation for children is disproved again and again and again. People who are incapable of having children adopt, have surrogates, or just don't have children altogether, and people who are perfectly fertile and able to have children choose not to have children. It is a separate issue, and one of the sneaky ways of debating these things that a lot of your type of people, with your point of view, use is you try to combine two arguments together, and you act as if arguing one will automatically prove the other. You're talking about children and you're talking about marriage. They're two separate things. Stop pretending that they're one. This will open the door for people wanting to marry their pets or inanimate objects. And in doing research on something you talked about, I noticed you're from Australia, and I found this article in an Australian newspaper that I'm assuming is probably where you got this information. You talk about that there is a man in Japan who went to court because he wanted to marry a cartoon character. And I found some quotes from this guy. He wanted to marry his cartoon love, and he says, "I am no longer interested in 3 dimensions. I would even like to become a resident of the 2-dimensional world. However, that seems impossible with present-day technology. Therefore, at the very least, would it be possible to legally authorize marriage with a 2-dimensional character? For a long time, I have only been able to fall in love with 2-dimensional people, and currently I have someone I really love. Even if she is fictional, it is still loving someone. I would like to have legal approval for this system at any cost." Did he win? Did this guy win the court case? Um, it only made the news because it was so incredibly ridiculous. Can this cartoon character say I do back? Can a dog say I do back? Can inanimate objects do this? The fact that you would suggest that 2 gay people who choose each other as life partners have as much control and as much intelligence as a broom or a cartoon character is incredibly insulting, and it's a ridiculous parable. You say gays aren't supposed to exist, they only exist because of their own free will, and God hates them for this. I love it when people decide what God wants and what God thinks. I don't. If you could record his voice or take a transcript of something that you had a specific conversation with God, then we'll talk. But don't start referring to the Bible and your own interpretations of why you think that your own prejudice is backed up by some supreme being. And also this concept of free will. Yeah, you try to argue rationally for a long time that people choose to be gay because they enjoy it, and that they take on all the pain and the ostracizing and the the problems that come with it, and having to deal with people like you. That this is all worth it just to be the center of attention. This free will, it's great. It's awesome. Life is not a constant. Things are always changing. They always will be changing. I don't particularly think that polygamy should be. I think people can be polyamorous if they want, but I don't think that polygamous relationships should be accepted with equal weight as as a marriage between 2 people, for nothing other than legal ramifications. I'm not saying anything particularly against polygamy, but there is a lot of problems in practically with dealing with more than one person in a relationship. But if somebody brought forward a very strong case, a very strong point for polygamy that I hadn't thought of, I would say yes, we'd have to debate it. We'd have to talk about it. We'd have to take it to court. If it's not meant to be accepted, then it won't pass. But it's very telling when people like you have a very cynical view of humanity, and you think that we don't have enough sense to really make. Only people like you have the senses to make good decisions and make the judgments, but the rest of us, if we were to open this up to the floodgates would open, we wouldn't be able to stop anything. This man was not able to marry the cartoon character because when they took it to court, logically, it's not possible. It's not something that can be recognized in our normal world. And if people want to bring forward cases of why they should marry their donkeys, go ahead. And I think that you should have a little bit of faith that we're probably not going to be able to recognize a relationship between a man and a donkey as equal as a man and a woman, or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, because the love is not reciprocated. The donkey cannot file for divorce. The donkey cannot say I do. I think you deep down see the faultiness of your argument, like I say, if other people want rights, go ahead and bring them up for debate. And I think that we, as a species and as a society, should be able to not be afraid to debate things that we may not agree with.